Welcome to the Freight Project podcast, brought to you by Ceresys, a North American third-party logistics company providing shippers transportation management technology and solutions.
On today's The Freight Project podcast episode, we welcome back Ceresys co-founder and VP of Business Development, Steve Norall. Mr. Norall, who along with Steve Ludvigson introduced one of the first web-based transportation management systems back in 1998, now comes on to the Freight Project podcast to discuss another revolutionary innovation going on in the shipping industry, final mile and white glove services. On this episode, Steve will share first his thoughts on why Ceresys is taking the step to develop a final mile logistics and white glove services solution inside the Ceresys TMS, the Ceresys Raider. Steve then explains, to make sure we're all on the same page, the difference between final mile logistics and white glove services. After making sure we're all on the same page, Mr. Norall shares what challenges are driving shippers to seek out more final mile and white glove options in their shipping practices. Then you'll hear from Steve, once you know those challenges, what are the benefits to shippers using final mile logistics and white glove solutions, as well as how using these practices separate shippers from their competition when they weave in these surface mode shipping options. And finally, Steve will give a sneak peek preview of how Ceresys will handle final mile logistics and white glove options for our shipper customers, so our listeners will know what to expect from our solution. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Freight Project Podcast. Well, Steve, thanks for being back on the Freight Project Podcast once again. You're becoming quite popular based on all of our analytics. Currently, you have the most listened to episode out of any Ceresys employee and out of any guest. You are truly a freight rock star. And so your expertise as a co-founder of Ceresys and your 25 plus years, yes, 2.5 decades of working on transportation management solutions really makes you a perfect guest for today's topic, final mile opportunities by shippers and for the industry at large. Now, Ceresys is setting out on a similar goal you personally set out on 20 years ago, getting carriers. Instead of being in the driver's, with your wife being in the driver's seat and you and the passenger writing down MC numbers of random trucks on the road, instead of getting those LTL carriers, you're now setting out to implement final mile. And I'm guessing you're not having to jot those numbers down anymore. People know who you are when you call. And you're looking to, get those white glove options and final mile carriers into our web-based TMS, the Ceresys Raider. So the people want to know, what is causing you to now get these final mile carrier and white glove options in our TMS?
Well, what's happening in the marketplace with the increase in e-commerce and the carriers' limitations that they're having with limited access and residential delivery, and other special service type deliveries such as inside threshold, room of choice, and the occasional light assembly required, it is imperative that we put together a network, to better serve this consumer market. This market's growing greatly, and there is not many automated good options for this service in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's really exciting. You're probably feeling a lot more passionate about your job. Sort of feels like the good old startup days, I'm guessing.
Yes, it does. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's a new market for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and a lot of shippers at the, industry at large, they try to, lump final mile and white glove into the same service. And there's a little bit of difference in the definition of those two terms, final mile and white glove. So you help the listeners kind of understand the difference in the two so we're clear?
Yeah. So the way we consider it, final mile is basically a network of carriers known as P&D delivery carriers. They're a niche regional carrier geared more for the B2C shipments. They specialize in residential, limited access, special handling type freight, non-palletized freight, appointments needed, things like that. To a marketplace. They also need liftgate and two-man delivery. Where white glove is just an extension of the final mile delivery. It's where the customer is requiring maybe more special services, like I said, such as room of choice, maybe light assembly, unpacking, and dunnage removal. They're really the same type service. It's just the white glove is an extension of the final mile.
Okay, well, let me dig a little bit deeper on that. The way I've kind of explained it to my friends who aren't in the know, or even some folks in the industry who are kind of struggling with it, and maybe this is correct and maybe it's not. You can let me know and let the people know. It's kind of like where you buy something from a local furniture store and they have their guy who's on a truck, gets it from the showroom, puts maybe a living room set in his, truck that maybe isn't a semi truck, 18-wheeler like we're used to seeing on the road for the LTL carriers. And he and his buddy, they do this every day. They take it from the showroom. They go and take it to the customer's house. They take away the old stuff. They put in the new stuff. They take away all the packaging out and they put it where you like it. Is that something similar to what we're seeing in the final mile and white glove services?
That's exactly what we're talking about, Adam. It is where the LTL carriers and the truckload carriers are really not designed for that type of service. The white glove, the P&D carriers, that's exactly what they do.
Okay, so that's a good definition. And now that folks understand that, why are we starting to see not just the local furniture showroom, but why are shippers challenged, and now what is driving them to seek out a more final mile and white glove option in their overall shipping makeup?
Yeah. Well, the market's changed. E-commerce is starting to really take a foothold in the corporate world and in ordering product. You used to go down to the showroom and, as you said, they would pick it out and then the showroom would deliver it. And what's happening is a lot of this freight is going into the traditional LTL network. And it's really, the problem is that network is not designed for high touch type deliveries. Such as residential limited access, non-palletized freight, and it's driving the LTL's carriers' delivery costs, throughout their network. So to combat those increased costs and things like that, the traditional LTL carriers are increasing the accessorial costs to the shipper to a point where it's effectively driving the freight off their trucks. LTL carriers are really designed for B2B type business, not B2C. This freight has to land somewhere for deliveries, and the final mile network is a perfect place.
Okay, so now that we know why they're looking at final mile and white glove options, what are some of the benefits from putting in final mile and white glove, and how does it separate say a manufacturer of furniture who's looking to go direct to consumer? How does that separate them from their competition who is not doing that, and when that manufacturer weaves in these different shipping options?
Yeah. So final mile and white glove is like I said, it's a specialized shipping method. It also doesn't go through your typical hub and spoke model that the LTL carriers have used for many years, where it cross docks many times. It's offloaded off the trucks back onto other trucks. Because of this, the benefits to the shipper and the consumer are, there's less handling of the freight, reducing damage claim issues and loss issues. It gives them the ability to move the product to consumer without having to palletize the product. Pallets are expensive; they add extra weight, and a lot of this product that we're shipping in the final mile is non-palletized type freight or blanket wrap type freight. The other additional services required for delivery by either the shipper or the consumer. The LTL carriers are really not designed to, they make deliveries in typically 48, 53-foot trailers. They're not designed to go into residential areas. Or are they designed to do any type of special delivery requirements? The other thing is it just creates a much higher customer satisfaction. Keeping the customer happy, is king in the industry today.
Yeah, and you talk about customer satisfaction, and every executive today is really tasked with the expectations set by the Amazon world. And it doesn't matter if you're an OEM or a wholesale distributor, even in the B2B world, where a customer of ours that gets orders from buyers frequently, they're getting senior living products, and they're not used to the Amazon experience. Well, if that senior living wholesale distributor wants to go online, or they want to have a better experience, or they're going to start to maybe ship directly to that senior home or whatever the buyer needs. The buyer and the customer really are dictating the experience. And if, companies can't keep up with that, then they're going to, the customer's going to go somewhere else. There are options out there. So it's a dog eat dog world. You think of the Toys R Us closing, the mattress firms are being displaced by online, companies like Purple and Casper. Wayfair is doing a heck of a job now at getting big pieces into homes very effectively. So there's a lot of competition. And, one of the things that I think I've enjoyed being a part of this company, and, you've done it obviously since the beginning, is our ability to respond to the marketplace through our technology. We've always had an in-house technology team where, if we cook up a crazy idea that we see in the marketplace, it's probably not something we've cooked up, but that we're hearing in the marketplace, that we're hearing from customers, sort of like what we did when we implemented e-commerce, when we implemented reverse logistics. And as we continue to improve our products, we also are looking at final mile and white glove and putting that right alongside the other shipping modes in our transportation management system, the Ceresys Raider. So finally, can you tell the folks here how we are going to handle final mile carriers and white glove options for our shipper customers? I know our development team is expanding those now, and they're looking at putting that out in 2019. So I'd love to hear, what's driving that and what we're going to do to respond to it.
Yeah. So we're extremely excited about the new offering that we're going to have, and we're building it two different ways. We're going to have final mile and white glove networks are dependent on the customer's needs and the freight characteristics that are going out. So option one for our customers and our shippers is going to be the traditional final mile and white glove option. And really what this service will utilize it's a door-to-door offering. This offering will be used for any type of freight that needs special handling, blanket wrap type freight, requiring hand loading, highly fragile freight, excessive length freight, and in some cases oversized freight, such as your Wayfair.com type freight, the furniture. This network is for freight that is more of a load to ride model. With very little handling between the shipper and the consignee, eliminating or greatly reducing damage and claim issues. This network does have an extended service requirement due to the consolidation in the line haul. So if you think about it this way, it's a P&D picking it up. It's going on a load to ride trailer all the way to the destination. So very little handling. But it does take a while for the freight to get there. And that's what's in the marketplace today. The second offering that we're going to have is really more of an expedited final mile or white glove option. This service will utilize the LTL carrier market and contracts that we have in place for our line haul portion of the move today. The LTL carrier will deliver the freight, so it'll ship from the shipper. The LTL carrier will deliver the freight to the delivering P&D carrier for the final mile delivery, satisfying the customer's requirements for the shipment, whether it just be a threshold delivery, a room of choice, or additional white glove services. This service will have a shorter delivery window than a traditional, final mile network. But with both these services, it just depends on what your needs are and what the requirements of the consignee is. All of these services will be automated in the Ceresys Raider for processing, tracking, POD retrieval, so that the shipper will know the landed cost of the product shipped to the consignee at the time of shipment.
Well, it sounds like we're on it, and obviously, as you know, as a function of my job, I'm, tasked with understanding the market, being head down into what is the latest and greatest, what's, coming down the pipeline, as far as what the industry analysts are saying and the journalists that cover our industry. And, I've seen in my career the rise of e-commerce and freight, and now the next big thing is final mile and white glove options. So we're well positioned to give the people what they want, as we do here at Ceresys. And there's no better person to understand that history and making sure we respond to the marketplace like yourself, Mr. Norall. So thank you once again for your time and expertise here on the Freight Project podcast. We'll surely have you on once again sometime soon in the future. So thanks a lot.
I appreciate it, Adam.
All right. And for everybody listening, thanks for tuning in to another great episode of the Freight Project podcast. We'll see you on the next one.